Hey guys, so today we've got a huge topic to cover. Halloween's coming up this week. I've got a special reading and a review coming up on Friday, so I'm really excited. But today's video is all about how to invent magical and fantasy creatures. How do you come up with these creatures? You could just use regular animals. You could do the classic, mythological creatures like dragons, phoenixes, griffins, hippogriffs, that sort of thing. But what if you want to invent your own creatures? How do you handle that? How do you even come up with some of this stuff? So let's just get right into it. So, the number one way that I do this, and this is 100% the way that I do it, so use your own style, do whatever fits you as an author, writer, or whatever you are. I go to Pinterest. They have a lot of amazing artists who have made these fantasy-like creatures. They've made designs. There's a lot of art on there, and you can find a lot of different pictures, and I love doing that, and the art belongs to them. They get all the credit. It's their creature. You cannot steal that. But for me, I can't come up with this stuff off the top of my head. This is not my forte. I'm not good at this. So I have to have a starting point, like a foundation. And so what I do is I use this art that belongs to these other artists as a starting point, and then I look at the picture and make my own creature from that, because then I have a bouncing point. So that's where I start. So I'm going to do an example with you guys just so you can see how it kind of works. So I'm going to put the picture up on the screen. I went to Pinterest. I literally searched fantasy creature. This was like the second or third one that popped up. So as you can see, it looks kind of like a lion face mixed with like a bird. Like it seems like there's feathers coming back. I mean, it's kind of like tufts of fur, but I see it kind of almost bird-like, with some horns coming out the back, like antlers. So it's kind of a combination of real animals. And basically I take this creature. I like that it's more bird-like, but I don't like bird beaks. So I do like that it's more of a lion or a wolf-shaped face. With really sharp teeth. I'm actually thinking maybe adding some fangs on it. You can add like a third eye in the center of the forehead, something to make it my own. And then its body is covered in feathers. Now we don't have the actual body in this picture, so that can be up to you. This is where you can take your imagination. We could go with 2 legs, we could go with 6, something unusual to make it more fantasy-like. Once you develop the picture, you can take a look at the animal's behavior and figure out what you want. And this is basically, you can take it from the real animal kingdom and what their behavior is like, basically. So is it more of a lone type creature, like leopards, where they just kind of go off and migrate by themselves and they don't interact? Are they more herd-based? I like that they form different alliance packs with each other. So you'll see 2 or 3 males together. You'll see 2 or 3 females together. And I like that the males are more involved in raising the young. So I think it's whichever one of them bonds with the young is actually the one that raises it, not just the females. So see, as you're coming up with this stuff, you're thinking about the real animal kingdom. You can think about behaviors. You can start to piece together what these creatures are like. So the next big thing that's going to factor into developing this creature, if you're somebody who can't really think of ideas off the top of your head and that sort of thing, figure out what role is this creature going to play in my book. Is it going to be a minor scene where the characters are attacked by this thing? Does it play a major role where the characters have to face up against this creature as a boss fight, or where this creature is hiding some sort of magical power? Is this creature intelligent like a human? Is it not intelligent, or is it somewhere in between where it's an animal but it's on the smarter end of animals, like a dolphin or a dog with the high intelligence of that? Or is it more like a dumb animal and it's easy to evade? Do you need your characters, do you have to have a character death revolving around this creature's attack? Do you need it to be a huge epic battle against this type of creature? What is the creature's role in your story? When you know the creature's role, you can figure out, this is what I need the creature to do. For instance, if you needed it in a fight against your main characters as they were making an epic journey across the land, you would know that, okay, you need at some point this creature has to come across them. It's hunting them. They get into a big fight, and you need the characters to come out with a few wounds. Maybe you don't want a character death, but you want somebody to get mortally wounded and injured. So okay, you need a couple of these creatures, or you need them to be tough enough to take this person out, or to get them wounded or whatever. And so you just have a couple of different things, and from there, once you figure out the creature's role in your story, that kind of helps you build your character. Well, why was this creatures here at this time period? Maybe they were migrating across, maybe it was mating season. You know, think about animal behavior and how it actually is. What helps me is I watched a lot of animal documentaries, so I can base it. Maybe this is my version of this creature is like a lion, bird thing with antlers type thing. But it could have more of the behavior of like a dolphin, for instance, where they stay in pods and they travel for long distances and they migrate and they're very social animals, you know, that sort of thing. They're very playful in nature. So maybe this isn't very dangerous at all. Maybe this is a creature that befriends my characters and leads them on their journey. You know, that sort of thing. You know, that's just totally random, but this is how you develop magical creatures. Figuring out the role that it plays in the story, figuring out what you want the creatures to do, what it's supposed to do with the characters, and how it interacts with the characters will be a big factor to playing in how what it becomes and what this creature is. Now, as the author or writer of the story, you can decide how much details you want to know. If you're like me, I like to know a lot of details about it behind the scenes. I may have this creature in a paragraph, and I would know a lot of behaviors about this creature and a lot of information about it, enough for a short story about the creature itself maybe. But that's just how I work. If you're an author, all you need to know is what you need to know, what goes in the book. And that's literally the paragraph that you wrote about the creature is all you need to know. That's fine. It's up to you and how much you want to work on this creature and how much you want to know outside of your story. Now, if you're uncomfortable using Pinterest because that art does belong to another person, and if you can't think of ideas to change it and make it your own so that you're not copying from what they did, because that's copywriting, which you can't do, if you're not comfortable with that, and you don't think you can take an idea and make it different, then your other option is to take animals in real life, because there's no copyright on those, and try to combine them in your head. If you draw, do a sketch. If you write a description. You know, for instance, what if I wanted a horse to be combined with a snake? How in the world would that work? You know, so maybe this creature has a long horse snout, and it goes into kind of a neck with a bulky body, but it ends with a really long slithering tail. I don't know. I'm really bad at this. You guys, this is not a version that I do, but I'm trying to break down for you the different ways that you can. But maybe that's something you're really good at. Maybe you can add some antlers onto the horse or some scales to the horse, and now it's a scaly lizard horse thing, hybrid, whatever. You know, maybe you put wings on a wolf and they have huge packs in the sky, and now it's got some talons like a bird, you know, whatever works for you. And then you don't have to worry about changing it and making it different, making it your own, because they're not copyrighted. You're doing that already. You can take the animal's behavior, combine them, make a different creature. And so there are a lot of different ways to make magical creatures, to make fantasy creatures for your stories. This works for sci-fi as well. I think sci-fi in the genre itself would have more details about the animal, scientific details, which would require, to me, more research. In a fantasy book, it's more... This doesn't have to get as technical, and it doesn't have to get as scientific, so it's depending on what kind of genre you want. If you're in the real world, but there's magical creatures in it, you can take it and run with it. Another thing that you can do is that you need to do when doing this is, I know we talked at the beginning of not using mythological creatures, but there's no reason why you can't research mythological creatures. By learning about mythological creatures and the stories and legends behind them, that can give you an idea and a springboard for whatever creature you're making. For instance, phoenixes in the legends are, you know, sometimes some legends have where a phoenix tear can have healing abilities. They have where the phoenixes burn up in ashes, and from the ashes a new baby phoenix is born. So maybe you make this, like this cat creature we've been working on, maybe it has healing abilities with its tear. You know, maybe it turns to ashes or has fire powers or can breathe fire like a dragon. You know, there's no reason why you can't take these mythological creatures that are not copyrighted, take the concepts and put them onto a creature that you create. You know, give your creatures powers and abilities and magic if you want to. It'll add an extra dynamic and a layer to your story, especially if you need this based on how this character is going to interact with, how this creature is going to interact with your characters. if it needs to be really dangerous, the more powerful magic it has, it'll be a bigger boss fight for your characters. If you want it to be a guide and a friend to them, then it could have some sort of good power, some sort of helpful thing to your characters, you know, something to help them out. Maybe your characters get in a hard spot and they're dying and it heals it with its tear or gives its life to save them, or something endearing to your readers. There's no limit to what you can do with this. Even if you're somebody who can't really think of ideas off the top of your head, that's when you need to do the research for mythological creatures, research real animals, their behaviors, and I promise you, you can come up with something by combining and twisting these ideas, even if it's something simple. And there's no reason why you can't use real animals in your stories and give them magical powers, make them a different color, and if bare minimum, that can be a magical creature in and of itself. Say you like tigers and they're your favorite animal in real life. They're orange with black stripes. So what if you colored them blue with purple stripes, or, you know, black with some sort of neon glowing green stripes or something, you know, and they glowed in the dark, you know, like the deep water fish that have bioluminescent scales, and they can light up their bodies because they live in the deep ocean. What if your tiger creatures lived in the deep jungle and it was so dark that they literally had neon black bodies that blended in with the shadows and you could hardly see them? But sometimes when they wanted to make their presence known, they could flash these stripy colors in neon green, bright neon green, really, or they could even change the stripes colors, you know, and flash it. Maybe they change depending on their mood, you see, and that's just a regular old tiger. There was nothing to it. I combined it with the bioluminescence of the fish in the deep ocean, but that's really about it. There's no limitations to what kind of you can do, and honestly, that's such a good idea. I might have to steal that sometime because it's really cool. And, you know, making the concept of a thick jungle as deep and dangerous and dark as the ocean, for instance, then, you know, the ocean has a lot of mysterious creatures to it and mysterious things we don't know, and maybe the jungle on this world is the same way. And see, now you have a major geographical location, you have a major creature within that geographical location, and that gives a setting for your book, that gives a mysterious thing, and that could lead to two potential plot lines for your book, all from just a very simple concept of a tiger and different colored stripes on it. You know, take an animal, color it different, and I guarantee you it's a fantasy creature. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, make a lion breathe fire like a dragon and color it bright red or something, and it's definitely weird. Or maybe light the lion's mane on fire, and, you know, it can just whoosh flames everywhere. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking a simple animal and giving it some sort of magical ability that's very simple, that doesn't require a whole lot of thought to it, and boom, you've got a nice magical creature, and all you gotta do is just name it. And you can name it a lion, you can name it a flame lion or a fired lion, you know, something simple that's easy to remember. You can just jumble a bunch of letters together and come up with a name. Here's some in the video right now. You know, you can just come up with something random, or you can just fire lion, flame lion, you know, glow tigers, you know, whatever, because, you know, in this fantasy world, they would have their own nicknames for creatures too. And honestly, your readers are more likely to remember a simple name rather than a complicated one. But if you want to name it, go for it. Go all out. I do that too. I do a mixture of both. Sometimes they're simple names. Sometimes their names are more complicated. It's easier for readers to get a grasp of what the animal is if you give it a name they're familiar with. So like fired lion, that's pretty much, you know, they can pretty much picture that off the top of their head. If I called it a shugogly or something random, they wouldn't have any idea what I was talking about. So it's honestly sometimes easier and better to do the simple naming, because then your readers can picture it better. So I'm excited for Halloween this Friday. That's why I thought talking about how to build creatures, magical creatures, fantasy creatures, even sci-fi creatures, how to build creatures for your books in general was a perfect topic with Halloween coming up this Friday. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope that it's taught you a lot. And if you're somebody who really wants to write fantasy but hasn't really had the chance to include a lot of fantasy creatures, then hopefully this video has been able to help you a lot and teach you how to do this. And I challenge you guys, go invent a creature. Take your time at it, and then put your creature in the comments below and tell me what ideas you guys come up with, because I want to teach you guys. I want to help people learn how to do this. So go for it, try it, and put your creature down below in the comments. So if you really liked this video, if you know any other writers or authors who could really use this type of advice, like this video and share it, spread it around so that everybody can learn how to do this. And be sure to subscribe. Be sure to subscribe for more writing and reading videos. And remember, this Friday we've got a live reading coming up of one of my stories, and we've also got a book review coming up, and it'll be the day before Halloween. So see you guys then.